welcome back to Zach the Ripper Comics. This is Zach the Ripper Reviews, the Friday night, October 2nd edition of WWE Smackdown. After what I thought was a really decent pay-per-view showing on Sunday night for Clash of Champions, we start Friday night Smackdown off with the big dog, the tribal chief, the Universal Champion, Roman Reigns. As Paul Heyman is going over the lineage of the bloodline, the history of the Samoan family, the Anoa'i family, Roman Reigns cuts him off just as Paul Heyman is trying to declare the champion as the tribal chief, and Roman says that he does not want to be called that because he, Jey Uso, refused to say it at Clash of Champions. Roman calls Jey out to the ring. Jey makes his way out, and Roman makes it clear that he was disrespected on Sunday, that he feels hurt by his brethren within the bloodline, Jey Uso, because he would not refer to him as the tribal chief. Roman says that whatever Jey Uso wants, he can give him. If he wants another main event, done. If he wants another championship match, done. Jey seems to like this and smiles, but Roman smiles back after giving him the most insincere hug and says that this matchup, this main event, this championship match will be under the most severe high stakes in the company's history, and we later learn that it will take place inside Hell in a Cell. Now, I firmly believe that Jey Uso, albeit a good speaker, is at his best in this current situation, in this current storyline, when he's not speaking as much. He has a couple dislikable qualities about him when he speaks that seem to annoy people who aren't of his dialect. After the champion leaves, AJ Styles, the Phenomenal One, comes out and voices his displeasure at the fact that Jey Uso is getting another championship match when Jey Uso was already defeated and hasn't done anything to earn that since he's been primarily a tag team competitor. This is the story happening right now for Jey Uso, is that can he cut it? Can he get it done in singles competition? The spoiler is yes, as we saw him tell an excellent story with Roman on Sunday at Clash of Champions. And in this matchup with AJ Styles, does another great job of putting on a fantastic match. My only caveat to this is that I don't like AJ Styles and the other competitors that were in that three-way ladder match from Clash of Champions performing on the Smackdown directly after the pay-per-view, after some of the bumps at the pay-per-view looked so horrific, and there's no way that their bodies weren't feeling it more than they were showing us on this edition of SmackDown. Regardless, it was a fantastic matchup, and I was actually pleasantly surprised to see Jey Uso pick up the victory. I like that they're going to put some steam behind him as we head into the Hell in a Cell. Now, I firmly believe that AJ Styles has been on this slow slope downward into a babyface from his current heel persona. It's been happening for a few months now with the inclusion of Sami Zayn into the Intercontinental Championship storyline, and now just here tonight, he put over the young kid he helped establish the next guy, and he also had breast cancer awareness gear on. Now, I know breast cancer awareness does not care if you're a babyface or a heel or a good guy or a bad guy, but to me this shows the effort that Styles is putting into getting that attention from the WWE Universe. So I would not be surprised, I will call it now, that this year's Royal Rumble, I guess technically next year's Royal Rumble 2021, the Universal Championship match will be Roman Reigns versus babyface AJ Styles. Anorexic Seth Rogen, the undisputed Intercontinental Champion, Sami Zayn, then cut a backstage promo, which I thought was actually really good. I think he's in his best when he's speaking and not performing in the ring. For whatever reason, Jeff Hardy is getting an Intercontinental Championship rematch tonight on SmackDown, which is entertaining, however does not make much sense, as just a year ago we learned that automatic rematch clauses were no more. In the feud that never ends, Otis, Mr. Money in the Bank, took on John Morrison in a very, very boring matchup. John Morrison seems completely complacent and unhappy in his role, where you have Otis, who's actually doing some great character development stuff. I was never high on him until just recently. He seems to be channeling some great 80s baby faces, and I actually kind of dig it. Otis hits the Vader Bomb for the victory. Good finish for that guy, I like it. Sheamus defeats Shorty G in a match that I don't understand why we're having, as it was just a month ago. Both these individuals seem to be on the precipice of turning, where Shorty G was doing the bidding of King Corbin in order to cash in the King's ransom on Matt Riddle, and you had Sheamus, who was at odds with Corbin. These were both much more interesting directions than the basic big bad guy, small good guy that we got here tonight. I'm not a fan of it, especially since we've been seeing this particular combination happen since the Royal Rumble kickoff show last January. I would love to see Sheamus return as a babyface and go after Roman Reigns, as I thought those guys had some excellent matches a few years ago. And now with the roles reversed, with Sheamus being a much better babyface than bad guy, I think this would be some great fodder to feed to Roman as we build to WrestleMania. 6-man tag team match next. That's the only time I was remotely interested in this, is anytime Matt Riddle was getting his ass beat or when Cesaro was in ring beating ass. The Lucha House Party continues to bore me. I'm excited at the fact that they are breaking them up, more dissension between Lince Dorado, Grand Metalik, and Kalisto. SmackDown Tag Team Champion Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro seem to be really bonding well and becoming an absolute force to be reckoned with when it comes to tag team wrestling, which means WWE will most likely be breaking them up sometime soon. The reveal of the mystery woman that's been haunting SmackDown for the past couple months was finally revealed, to no one's surprise, to be Carmella. This looks to be a turn in the direction of Carmella, as she no longer wants to do dance parties, no longer wants to cater to the fans, and I actually like this, as Carmella is a fantastic bad guy, fantastic antagonist. This I like, although I must say that her new voice doesn't match her face, and I know that sounds odd, but give it a watch and let me know what you think. Bobblehead herself, Sasha Banks, had a promo. Moving on. In Jeff Hardy's one-on-one Intercontinental Championship rematch against Sami Zayn, he came up short as Sami Zayn once again outsmarted him on his way to becoming one of the slimiest Intercontinental Champions in history. And I don't say that as a bad thing. I think the company needs slimy bad guys, and I actually enjoy Sami in that role. I just wish it was more talking, less wrestling. Now, as I said earlier, and I'll reiterate again, these two had a good match, just like AJ Styles earlier in the night with Jey Uso. However, I don't believe that these ladder match participants from Clash of Champions should have been performing here tonight. Obviously, the show needed them, as there wasn't much depth, despite it being an actually really good show. It just would have been better to let those injuries sink in and give it one more week, especially since next week is the first night of the draft on SmackDown. I'm not the only one that falls asleep during Kevin Owens segments, because as you can see in the graphics, so does Stone Cold Steve Austin. And the KO show was on SmackDown due to the inter-brand mingling that's allowed whenever they see fit for storytelling purposes. And we get his guest, Alexa Bliss. Now, Alexa Bliss has been on this downward spiral, and I put that in quotes because many see it as a negative, whereas I see it as a positive. Ever since her encounter with The Fiend in June and July, she has been acting slightly different, and I said just last week that she is a phenomenal actress. She proved it here again tonight with her awesome, yes, Harley Quinn-esque performance, but awesome nonetheless. Alexa Bliss made it clear that yes, she has been changed, but it's a change that she has welcomed, whereas every other superstar that's been changed following their encounters with The Fiend has not welcomed that change and has not done particularly well following those encounters. At one point, Alexa Bliss even told Kevin Owens to back off and let him in. And it was in that moment that the lights hit and The Fiend made his appearance, shoving that mandible claw right down Kevin Owens' throat, which I'm sure Kevin enjoyed, as he will eat anything. Last week we saw that phenomenal director shot as Roman Reigns came out. We saw Alexa Bliss standing behind him, giving him that look that could kill, and this week is no different. As The Fiend has the mandible claw shoved down Kevin Owens' throat, we see just behind him, slightly blurry, Alexa Bliss looking on, not in appreciation, but affirmation, which I thought very interesting. Many have been saying that this could be Harley and Joker-esque from DC Comics between The Fiend and between Alexa, but I'm actually going to go in a different direction. I'm actually going to say, instead of Harley being infatuated with The Fiend, I think The Fiend has become infatuated with Harley. I think The Fiend has become infatuated with Alexa. In what should have been the show closing moments of the night, The Fiend very slowly walks up to Alexa Bliss, puts his hand out, and she very slowly acknowledges it and holds it as both of them eventually turn towards the hard cam. This should have closed the show, especially with such a big match next week. The Fiend, for the first time ever, performing on SmackDown against Kevin Owens on the first night of the draft. I want to know your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think of this show? Where do you see this angle with The Fiend and Alexa Bliss going? I called in the Dean himself to grade this week's SmackDown, and just like last week, both of us agreed that SmackDown gets a B. Thank you everybody for tuning into this video. I want to thank all of my patrons out there. You guys are making this possible as we grow bigger and bigger. All of my new subscribers on YouTube. Thank you for liking the Facebook page, finding us on Instagram, hitting up the eBay store for all of your comic book needs, liking this video, and please don't forget to subscribe as it only gets us to a better point down the road. Until next time.